Hey everybody, Guitar Guts back. This video is a continuation and breakdown of one of the bass guitars that was featured in my video called Short Scale Basses Compared. So if you haven't seen that overall video yet, you might want to go back and look at that to get an overview of this one compared to 3 other short scale basses. And then you can come back here and I'll give you the specifics about this one. This one is the Jaguar Short Scale Bass by Squier. Now, this is one of the basses that was featured in the Vintage Modified series of guitars by Squier several years ago, and it has unfortunately been discontinued. Now, they have given us a Squier version of the Fender Mustang with a single pickup in it, but I tend to like this old Jaguar bass because it's super versatile, super nice little bass, and I think these things went for about $180 when they came out, which is just a phenomenal deal. You can tell that these are the short scale basses when you compare them to the other ones in that old line of vintage modifies because they had a painted black headstock, and that set them apart from the other guitars in that line. This is a fantastic little bass. The neck on it is super smooth on the back, very comfortable jazz feeling neck. It doesn't fan out quite as bit at the bottom as a normal jazz neck does, so it stays slender all the way down. There are no sharp fret ends whatsoever on it. Maybe the frets on the Fender Mustang are a little better polished, maybe rounded on the ends, but you can't feel it. I mean, there's no difference in playability. These came in really good shape. A little bit of shining up made them feel just as good as the Fender Mustang. When you're stringing this guitar, just like any other Fender bass, if you're using light gauge strings, you might want to put a couple of extra wraps around that A string tuning post to get it on down on the tuning post so it's got a better break angle over the nut, or you might experience some buzzing there if you're using light gauge strings. This thing's held up well. I've had one of these at school for the kids to bang around on for quite some time, and they haven't managed to do too much damage to it, which tells me it's a pretty sturdy guitar. The only issue that I've ever had with these basses is that on 2 of these, not 2 of the short scales, but on 2 of my Squier Vintage Modified guitars, the pick guard warped and developed a hump in it. And unfortunately, the hump was right where your fingers needed to go to do a lot of snap, the slap pop, to get your finger down under it to do the pull up for the pop. That bulge occurred right there, and I had to replace those pick guards. Now, you can try to heat it, but it sometimes shrinks the plastic, and you can try to boil it, but that will leave sort of a hazy looking water stain in there. So I simply replaced the pickup. I think it was the black one where that pickup warped a little bit, and I had to replace that to get my fingers down under it. Now, if you're just playing finger style and you're not doing slap, you'll probably never notice it. You'll probably never even see it. It wasn't very visible, but it was tactile. You could feel it. But that's the only issue I've ever had with these basses. They've really held up well. The hardware feels really solid on them. Now the pickups in these, I mean, you're talking about a $200 bass. So it's not going to be the best thing in the world. They were very generic sounding. Nothing wrong with them. They just didn't have a whole lot of personality. They held up pretty well. The J pickup was a little weak compared to the P pickup, which is really common with that pickup configuration, which is why on the one I play at the house, I've replaced the pickups that came in it with these Duncan designed pickups. Now, these are not the full Seymour Duncan made in the USA pickups that I have in my Fender Mustang. These are the Duncan design that came in these older Vintage Modified series, the standard J and the standard P bass. And sometimes you can find these things on eBay going for little or nothing, where people have pulled them out of a full-size bass, and they fit in these just fine. I like them a lot. Now, no, they don't have the clarity of the true made in the USA Duncans, and don't quite have as much complexity to them, but I really like them. They're very warm. They might not have quite as much sustain as the made in the USA Duncans, but I kind of like that. on these little short scale basses. Because I tried a set of Seymour Duncan quarter pounders in this thing once. Oh my God, that was overkill. That was like doom, you know, when I hit that low E string. They were just too much for the short scale, because short scales can already sound just a little bit boomy in the low end anyway. Adding those quarter pounders, it was just too much for this bass. I mean, it was pretty cool. Some people might like it, but it was just, to me, it was over the top. So these little Duncan design pickups sound fantastic, and I didn't have to give much money for them at all. I'm telling you, this little bass is just an outstanding value. I wish they'd bring it back. I actually feel like it's a better balanced bass than the Fender Mustang is, just because of the shape of the body, a little bit more mass in the low end here. It sits on your leg better. It doesn't have as much neck dive. I like the volume tone arrangement of knobs much better, because you can easily blend the pickups together to get all kinds of in-between tones. This is just a great little bass, even though it's costing twice what it did when it first came out now. I think it's worth the money. You pick one up and give it a try and see if you like it. It's one of my favorite ones to play. And if you can find one pretty cheap, I definitely say it's a good value. The Fender, or the Squier Jaguar short scale bass. All right, we'll talk to you later, guys.